wasn't sure about, I'll give Dave an excused absence, I wasn't sure about his attendance, but let's, with a quorum present, I'd like to call this meeting of the Co-op Budget Committee to order at 6:31 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Co-op Budget Committee for the month of December. Is this the third Thursday?
Yes.
I was going to say, I think our fourth Thursday would have been right after Christmas, so we've adjusted the calendar accordingly to meet this evening. The agenda was posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting as required. I'd like to introduce myself, Darlene Mann, and the members present this evening, who include Tom Whalen, Brian Rader, Raul Blanchet, and Matt McGuire. I'd like to welcome Kelly Seeley, our business administrator, and note the excused absences of Tom Solon, Tom Enright, and Dave Glenn. If you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll note an agenda adjustment tonight. I have the HESA contract review listed as an agenda item, and I shared some materials with regard to the HESA agreement. Krista Whalen, it was not available to attend this evening due to a schedule change that was unanticipated, and we'll hold over that conversation and thorough review of the contract and what was negotiated for our January meeting. I did share the materials, and if anyone does have any questions, we can kind of have a high-level little discussion, maybe come up with some questions specifically for Krista. She has negotiated that contract for several years in the past, and I know her explanation will be thorough. But if we do have any questions, we can discuss them tonight. You can send them to me in advance, but I'm sure any concerns or questions would be answered in January. And also, I will say the school board update is likely to be short, as Tom Solon, the school board representative, is not present this evening as well. So we'll move on with the information at hand, and we'll see how things unfold. And tonight, our meeting observer is Brian, and we are going to get this approval of minutes correct because Dawn, our recording secretary, if I don't get this right, I think she'll maybe stop giving me outlines before the meeting. So we do have outstanding minutes from our September 26th meeting. I believe I forwarded those earlier today. I was having just my own computer. I was having a problem with the download. I don't know why. So I forwarded the email that had them previously. So we have the minutes from September 26th. We have notes from the meeting in October. We didn't have a quorum present, so those are it's just informational things we discussed. No, we've never officially called to order or made any decisions or passed motions. So they're just there for people to review, just so you're aware of things that were discussed. And then we'll have the meetings from our the minutes from our November meeting. So at this time, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the September 26th meeting.
So moved.
From Tom Whalen, seconded by Raul. Do you have them up in front of you, Matt? So we had Raul, Tom Enright, Tom Solon, Tom Whalen, Dave, Matt, and Brian were absent. You can still vote if you were not in attendance, if you've reviewed the minutes for content. So I don't think anyone is really, if you're comfortable, just vote whatever way you're comfortable, depending whether you attended or not, or you need to abstain. We're going to get things done. So, seeing no comments or amendments, I'll take a motion. All those in favor of approving the September 26th meeting minutes?
Aye.
3 opposed, 0 abstentions. Matt and Brian. And for the November 21st amended minutes, there was an amended version sent out earlier today. As Dawn indicated, it was really just a cleanup and consolidation, correct some spacing and things like that. So there were no real content shifts from the original minutes that were distributed. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of our November 21st meeting.
So moved.
Tom Whalen, seconded by Raul. Questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes from November? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 0. Abstention? 1. Right. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we're up to date with that. Seeing no public present, we'll pass over the public input and move on to the FY25 budget discussion. So I did include a updated budget trend file from Kelly, who was kind enough to update our budget for, I guess, the retirees.
Oh, yes, yes.
So while the previous version did in fact improve on the guidance number that we came up with in November, this latest view had about another 100,000 or so. I noticed the salary adjustment in a line, and the line for the teachers that are retiring was updated. So now the operating budget guidance falls just shy of $100,000 below our guidance. So we continue to improve on that. And just a reminder for the, it's not a huge complexity, it's just an interesting way of how we're gonna have to address the budget this year, the operating budget and the full value of the warrant. So right now, with that lower operating budget amount, the budget itself, $100,000 below guidance, is an increase of 6.34%. However, between that number and the total budget number, we have a double count of at least $600,000. So we have a project to improve the HBMS boilers of $915,000 included in the operating budget, and the cost of that repair, among other things, is included in the HBMS boiler lease line for $600,000. So whether the bond or lease, whichever financing mechanism is put forward in the article, if that passes, $915,000 would be amended and removed from the operating budget. If it does not pass, then that $600,000 would come off the total amount, and $915,000 would stay in the budget for voting later in the March meeting. So there's a kind of a double, there is a double count right now of the expenses. So Kelly was kind enough to include on the superintendent's view page a little summary on the bottom that kind of, breaks out where things are falling. So if we had the budget with the $915,000, but not the $600,000 in total, we would have an operating budget increase of 6.34% and a total budget increase of 6.44%. If we take out the $915,000 but include the $600,000, we would have an operating budget increase of 3% and a total budget increase of 5.43%. So that's kind of where we stand with the budget. I don't think there were any other changes at this time. I did ask Kelly, because there's so much discussion around health insurance, I asked Kelly to give us, provide some documentation about where we are with health insurance rates and plans and plan usage and things like that. So the last trend file that I had dates back to FY07 and tracked expenses. I think there must have been something we were doing with the HESA agreement, because I had the HESA information in there but not the HEA information. And so on the, let's see, okay, so for the professional staff, looking at there's a rate sheet and then an analysis sheet. So the rate sheet kind of gives us that overview, that 5-year overview of plan costs. So you can see the ABSOS, which is a site of service plan, for a single starts at $768.11 for a monthly rate. in FY '22, moved to $1,536 for two-person and family of just shy of $2,100. And by FY '26, those rates are up to just shy of $1,100 for a single, $2,100 for a two-person, and just under $2,900 per month for a family. So as we move into FY '26, that's an 8.9% increase of that plan, and a 4.3% increase in the AB 10 plan. So that's more of a like $10 copay for visits.
Yeah, I think it is.
That's what I think that is, right?
Wow, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So this plan is again, this was a 5-year view. So 5 years ago, the plan for a single was just under $1,000, just under $2,000 for a two-person, and $2,666 for a family. Is now up over a 5-year period to $1,320 per month for a single. A two-person's at $2,640, and the family plan is at $3,565.
That's what we will be paying, the school will be paying, right?
That is the
Right.
that's not the total.
Oh, no,
Cost.
yeah, that's the total rate,
cost.
sorry, yes.
And then on the analysis page, we have the district contribution levels and the number of people taking, anticipated to take the plan next year, kind of using the census for what we have this year. We're anticipating those would be the people that would take it next year. So on the SOS plan, it's a 100-90-90. So the district covers 100% of a single, 90% of a two-person, and 90% of a family. And is there a buyout for people who don't take the plan?
For professional staff and administrators there are.
So that's like around 1,000?
No, for the professional staff, I think I want to say it's 2,700.
Okay.
Per month?
No,
No,
one
just
time.
a
That's the
one-
buyout if
Oh,
you don't
one
take
time.
insurance.
For the year.
Right.
Yeah.
Geez, I wanna be a professional staff.
Yeah, no, that's a good number.
And it's the same 100-90-90 for coverage for the non-union administrators. And we see the numbers shift a little bit because I believe the support staff under HESA has dollar caps as opposed to a percentage.
They do.
So the district contribution rates shift a little bit dependent upon how much that dollar cap is of the monthly amount, which is changing a little bit. So that gives us the breakdown. Can you give me, we also have allied health professionals.
Yeah, that's down at the bottom.
Yep, so those are people who we would pay like through the IDEA grant?
No,
No.
these are more like OTs and
PTs,
yeah,
speech and language?
yeah, right.
Related
yes.
service providers?
All of those, yes.
Okay. And so is the 90, 85, 75, that's a flat percentage, kind of like
That's a
everybody else's,
percentage,
it's not
yeah.
the dollar cap?
Yep.
Okay. So thanks, Kelly, for putting that together. It just, like I said, that I think that 5-year analysis really does give you an idea of how the industry has changed. I mean, if you really want to go back to actually the plan that that plan wasn't even available in FY '07. So in FY '17, was probably the best year to use from comparison's sake for HEA. Yeah, it was at 642. So like 2/3 of where it is today, or anticipated to be, 1,200 for two-person and 1,700 for a family. So there really has been some significant changes over the last, well, definitely 5-year period, but going further back to, the 8 or 9 years ago. So the industry has changed pretty dramatically. And on dental,
So is there a way to correlate this data with the actual contracts right now? So that,
I'm not sure I understand the question.
we're paying now in the existing contracts for
Mhm.
healthcare for the employees, right?
Yep.
So where do those numbers that the district is paying compared to those projections and those tables that?
Well, this is what we're paying right now.
these are what the rates were.
Okay, so
So we know the 8.9% increase in the ABS SOS plan and the 4.3% in the AB 10 plan
Okay.
because Health Trust has solidified those rate increases,
Okay.
so we know what they are.
Yes.
And there's, for the HEA agreement, we're currently in a San Bernard's contract, and there's no, change to the 100% 90/90 over the
Okay.
term of that contract. And then for the HESA agreement, they're, based on the red line, view of the contract, there was an increase to the caps. And I'm not sure, like, of the driver of,
but that's basically
why that
giving you
took place.
rates and cost per plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
person, two person, et cetera.
Yep.
Mhm.
But obviously, we can go to the line items and the actual budget and see what the amounts would be in
Yeah,
terms of total cost, right?
Yeah, there's one line item for health insurance there,
Okay, yeah, right.
yes.
Yeah,
That incorporates everything, plus it also includes, shared employees, the rates for them,
Okay.
and,
So in case anybody asks, it might be nice to have maybe those charts with some sort of highlighting the key numbers that apply to the current contracts or budgeted or planned contracts.
so looking at,
In other words, that might be some good background material in case anybody asks.
sure, I mean, it adds up on the bottom end to close to what it adds up to in the budget lines. The only difference is what we also include in that line, which are shared employees and, the, new employee, health, what do you call them? When you hire someone new, they have to go to our provider to get a employee wellness check, I guess. I can't think of
Physical.
thank you, too. I can think of such a simple word.
So the increase we're looking at year over year is a 17% increase in health insurance and 12% in dental. And, some anticipated reductions in the health insurance opt-out. So, so were we anticipating like a census shift going
No.
into 26?
No?
Cause if the rates are going up by 8.9 and we're seeing a 17% increase.
Well, it probably has everything to do with this year's budget, you know. It could be, the census is now what it is, but we
Yeah, but
probably
this year's
budgeted for something different,
in this year's
yeah.
budget, so, okay. All right. Any other questions?
I had a question from a previous topic before we started focusing on this one. Remind me again, the 600K that we have in the budget that may or may not come out depending on what happens with the warrant article in front of it.
So that was the, financing for it's listed as the boiler lease, but it's a larger scale project.
It is.
Yeah.
But that would
Mhm.
be the front end
Yeah.
of the first year for that project.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
that number is still an estimate, I'm still waiting
So it would be
for.
915 plus the 600
No, it's 915 or 600.
or 600. Okay.
The 915 would be just the boiler.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was in those discussions.
Right, I know, just
Yeah.
reminding.
Yeah, so the 600 is the larger scale project over whatever finance period
Right.
that you're looking at.
And that number will
15.
likely be less than that, I'm just waiting for the final number.
Now, if the 915 drops, in other words, we're not including it, then the net, percentage increase in the total budget would be what?
If the 915 drops, but we keep the other longer-term financing, the operating budget is 3.05%,
Okay.
and the total budget is 5.43%.
Okay. In case people start asking questions.
One of the things we talked a little bit about in October was that, the solar lease piece. Tom gave us kind of an impromptu overview of, the facilities projects at the November meeting. And I believe the facilities committee was gonna be meeting and then, bringing recommendations for the board to make a decision on at their, meeting, which took place last week. My understanding is that the decision on the solar piece of the project would not take place until January.
I believe that's what happened, yes.
But Raul, since, who else is on the committee? We usually have so many members of the committee present.
Tom Enright and Tom Solon.
And so now it's you and Kelly are on the committee,
Right.
of the facilities committee. So as a result of the meeting that the facilities committee had that led into the,
School board.
school board meeting, was the solar project still the same, anticipated, like rooftop units, not going to be a cost, like there were gonna be offsetting costs and it wasn't gonna be a cost issue for the district?
That's what the goal is, yes.
Okay, so is that, that decision will be made in January and then finalized as we go to
So
the.
that was the plan that was going forward, instead of having the, separate, system
The
on
ground
someplace
mount,
else.
yeah.
Yeah, they were gonna be rooftop units.
Right.
And something about, I would just, I'll wait till January, I guess, cause I'd still like to understand how it's not costing us anything. So,
But it may cost, but, hopefully it won't be a significant amount,
right,
so.
so maybe somewhere between the 600 and 915.
Yes, and we're still waiting for numbers on that as well,
Right,
so, yeah.
okay. So are there any other, questions, data concerns? I just wanna look at one quick thing. Kelly, sometimes we. You had the, public hearing on the, SAU budget.
Oh, yes,
So that's the governing board had their meeting.
right.
And that, passed
That
and is
passed,
moving
yes.
forward,
Mhm.
so. I just wanna see athletics. Okay. All right.
Are there any pending action items or things we need to do between now and the, public hearing in February, like putting together briefings or
Yeah,
investigating?
yeah, the town report, information for both town reports is due, by mid-January. And, pending the decision by the board in January, the amounts for that, the financing amounts and things like that will be finalized so that that can go into the public hearing information. There were also 5 petition warrant articles submitted to date, and, those will be added in some way to the public hearing, agenda for our public hearing at the beginning of February. And yeah, just putting together that, general, information in preparation for the public hearing. So it is just gonna be that odd explanation and how that information is presented, cause there is that kind of over count that makes the budget higher than it will end up being. Both things won't pass, so, it's the if one then the other type of thing. So.
planning to have Drew Mason come to one of our meetings prior to the district meeting to talk about exactly how the meetings are gonna take place, or is there any, would it be any benefit to have those, have him come and give you some?
Didn't
Yes,
he
sir.
meet with the school board?
He did meet with the school board,
Already?
and they, agreed to some rule changes that, I have to think of what the three big ones were. The school board did spend, a lot of time speaking with Drew. Tom Enright, attended the meetings, to voice some of the concerns that were voiced earlier in May. And I believe Drew, when he drafts his rules, will include things like, when a question is moved, the people online will, if that passes, to move the question. Any people, if enough time has passed for the debate itself, those involved will sit down, instead of hearing everybody that's, still online. There were three things.
I think the majority, not simple, but was it supermajority?
Yes, yes, it was a supermajority, thank you, to change the order of the articles, in the warrant. And a shift to the presentation, so that there's, more time given to hear presentations or to discuss items in the public hearing, as opposed to extended meetings.
It's gonna limit presentations.
Yeah, for the
Yes.
petition warrant
Right,
article.
the petition warrant article doesn't get a special
It
10-minute hearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we can consolidate the public hearing into one night, including everything, and move forward in that way. And that will require just a little understanding, of, who if it's necessary to determine who's conducting like which public hearing, or if it's posted as jointly by both boards. I'm
Right.
not sure of the,
Logistics.
what exactly needs by RSA to be done, if it's for, like a bond versus, I think the bond is the school board's public hearing, but the budget is the budget committee's public hearing. I don't know. So I'm gonna let the business office work through the details of who's supposed to move what and when,
Alright,
and,
we'll
or
figure
if we
that
just
out.
jointly call everything to order. There are, rules behind all of that. So we will also have, a special meeting. I believe the board decided to move forward with the special meeting, for the apportionment formula, which will take place at the end of
January 30th, I believe it is.
January 30th.
And the public hearing is, I think it's the 15th of January.
Oh, okay, so that's coming up.
Wow.
I think so.
Okay, let me.
So, just as a refresher in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
who and how is the order of the articles determined?
The school board.
School board.
Yeah,
So the
the
school
school
board
board.
determines the order, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Bonds go first. We typically have the order that's bonds, contracts, and then the budget. But like, for example, the Hollis Budget Committee does all of that, but they always have their budget article as the last article. We put it, more upfront, and then the other things fall
Right.
after it.
And we usually put the petition warrant articles at the
At the
very
end.
end, yeah.
The meeting.
For the special meeting on January 30th, is the budget committee meeting for that?
No. No, it's a school board meeting. We
Yep.
can attend as, members of the public.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be there regardless,
Oh,
but
but I don't
conflicts, but
anticipate-
still,
don't
I was just
antici-
curious if we
Yeah, no, I
were
don't
meeting. Is
anticipating
there-
us calling to order. We
Okay.
haven't in the past. We have had, one or two, at least one special meeting. Maybe it's been two.
Yeah,
The years are just running together.
yes, they are.
But it is the board's meeting, and they, will put forward, basically a renewal of the to my knowledge, it's a renewal of the existing, apportionment formula. It's for an up or
Yeah.
down vote, it can't be amended, so it either passes or it doesn't.
And the other article that is up is to clarify the funding. So because right now it makes it sound like bonds are the only thing we can use.
Mhm.
So it will clarify that you can also use leases and actually a more robust description of what we can include, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so that we really are addressing like,
Mhm.
capital financing
Yes.
in total as opposed to being, that targeted and specific. And again, I think that's just a function of the fact of when the articles were put together.
Exactly.
It just wasn't,
Leasing wasn't a
no one,
thing,
you
yeah.
just
Just
bonded
didn't
things and you
exist,
didn't
yeah,
think
right.
of the other, types of mechanisms that were available to districts, so just to clean that language up.
Yes.
So yeah, that would require a public hearing, as Kelly said, that'll be on the 15th, and, we would meet as our regular committee meeting is on the 23rd of January. We'll have Lauren, discussing special education, we'll have Krista discussing the HESA agreement. We'll have the apportionment meeting on the 30th, and then the public hearing is Thursday, the 6th. Are we on Monday the 3rd?
Yes, the 3rd.
Monday the 3rd. Great. What's on the 6th?
Mhm.
Okay,
All right,
Monday the
so
3rd.
the public hearing is Monday the 3rd.
Monday the 3rd.
Yeah, I I probably won't be able to make that.
Okay. All right, well, I think that we've covered most of the topics, that I had planned for the evening. I don't know if anyone has anything else at this point.
I had a question on the budget, just
Sure, yeah.
something I noticed, and I'm just not clear on it. So the only changes I saw in the budget from round 3 to round 4 were this English salary, English teacher salary, retirement benefits, and the HESA contract. And those came out to minimal $35,000 or so difference between 4.0 and 3.0. What was the retirement benefit change? I wasn't clear on that. I know you mentioned it earlier.
So, the teachers have a bonus amount that they get, if you will, for retiring if they meet certain criteria. I had left in there, the previous year's number as a placeholder because last time we met, they still had time, someone still had time to retire, which in fact they did. So I was able to reduce that number based on the one person that retired.
Oh, okay. So just an update.
Yeah.
It wasn't, nothing changed. It was just an
No,
update.
nothing
Okay.
changed. There was a placeholder there and I just put
Okay.
reality in instead.
Thank you.
Okay, well, great. Any other questions? If
So-
anything,
So the actual number of the budget guidance, is that gonna officially change as a result of,
no, I would
No, you
recommend we
just-
just hold guidance, where it was, and, we'll discuss the fact that the administration came in at a number better than the
okay,
guidance number.
good, and give credit.
Yeah, there's no need to keep, adjusting and things like that. If there continue to be improvements, there might be, there might be improvements on the operating budget side. And as Kelly mentioned, there'll be some changes to the additional warrant articles, that are listed that right now include the HESA agreement, the $125,000 contingency, maintenance trust of 300, nothing for the special education lease, a placeholder of 600,000 on the boiler lease, the SAU budget amount, and right now the solar lease is listed, but there's nothing associated with it. So things might kind of shift a little bit.
Yes.
In those kind of components. Okay.
Great.
Well, I appreciate everybody's time. I'm glad that we were able to kind of get through some of the information more quickly. And like I said, I think January will have a busy month, but I think any of your attendance would be gratefully appreciated at the public hearings, the special meeting. Special meeting's really important. On apportionment, that'll solidify the apportionment formula for the next 5 years. So, what we will also do, I think, in January is review just a very high-level discussion on the petition articles, because I think I would just like some legal clarification on if they can coexist. There are 3 articles 5 articles. One for SB2, one to establish a charter commission that only addresses allowing SB2 essentially as a voting mechanism, tax cap on the warrant, I'm sorry, estimated tax impact on the warrant article, tax cap and a budget cap. And so my question is more of legally how those two can coexist, because I don't, if a budget cap, if you put in a budget cap, it has the potential to push you over on the tax cap side, depending on revenue elements that are outside of how the budget is calculated. And similarly, so I don't know. I don't know that how those two can coexist, or you just go, and I'm not sure if the one that supersedes the other is based on the order in which they were approved, or,
Good question.
you know, those types of things, and maybe, Jim O'Shaughnessy, in kind of reviewing and explaining things to the board, might come up with some kind of explanation
Those are
about
two
that.
separate warrant articles.
Those are
Yes.
2 separate
So
warrant articles.
conceivably, they could be separated, one approved, one not approved,
Yes,
Or both approved.
or both approved.
Or both
which is
rejected.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, if they were both approved, I don't, again, the RSA doesn't seem to imply one supersedes the other. It just is, kind of gives some,
Right.
you know, explanation of how it would be calculated, because the calculation of a tax cap is now different. The Brookline, I believe when the Brookline, school district tax cap was passed, it was only on the operating budget itself. Now the tax cap, is on the full value of the warrant, which is different as opposed to it being just on the operating budget, because those additional articles for like, construction projects, for, teacher contracts, support staff contracts, those do have the potential to push, you know, caps a little bit, depending on the level of, you know, how revenue and other things affect the tax result. So again, for a district like Brookline, I'm not sure how that affects the tax cap that they have, because the one they have in place is now not consistent with the way the law is written, but that is an issue for the Brookline School District to work through. And, you know, it might have to come up again or something like that, I don't know, but.
I have a question.
Mhm.
If the school board is the one that decides on the order of the articles and the ones that are being accepted, is there any public hearing for when they come up and propose what the warrant article should be? And an explanation and background as to why it's needed, and, in other words, as a citizen of the district, I would not like to find out the details of something being offered at the last minute. I would like to have some background information, and it would seem to me that before a warrant article can be accepted by the board, there should have been some, you know, some.
You're talking about petition warrant articles?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
they're submitted ahead of the meeting, you can get them ahead of the meeting.
Yeah,
Are
that's
you
why.
saying, is it discussed by the school board? Those-
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
they,
other
no,
words,
they
No,
don't, no,
no,
that's not
that's
their,
the
that's
job
not their
of the-
purview.
That's the job of the petitioner, to explain it at the meeting,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not the purview
for
of
the
the board.
first time.
It-
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but that's the way it works,
It would
yeah.
seem to me that if you wanted support at the meeting, you would want to do a little bit of lobbying ahead of time, and that may be having a public hearing, maybe having going in front of the budget committee or the school board and explaining what you're trying to do.
Well, look in your mailbox, you'll see flyers.
No,
you'll
I don't
people
want to
have-
see it then, I want to see it in.
No, I'm saying beforehand, people will try to sell you on their,
Yeah,
on their,
absolutely,
on their
absolutely.
warrants.
Yeah.
It's just not a public hearing, but they'll be lobbying with you locally.
Yeah, but that's, you
That's
know,
just how they do it, I know, it's just how they do it.
just, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, seeing no other, topics, questions, issues? My email is always open if anything comes up, and, there are any, topics or agenda items, you know, you want added to January. It will be that, you know, that mid-January to beginning of February will be busy. But we'll meet weekly and, you know, get
Looking
through.
forward to it.
Make some good decisions, so. I'll look to Brian for our process overview.
Well, we stayed on topic, and this was remarkably one of our shortest meetings.
It's one of our shortest meetings ever. Yes,
So,
I agree.
Excellent.
Okay, so as I said, we have now a public hearing on the 15th in January. Thank you for clarifying that, Kelly. That's the public hearing for the special meeting. We have our regular meeting on the 23rd of January. We have a special meeting on the 30th of January, and the public hearing for the warrant on the Monday, February 3rd.
Fair, yeah.
I said January 30th, did I say 3rd? I meant January 30th for the special meeting, February 3rd for the public hearing on our regular warrant.
And the co-op school district meeting is when? March 4th?
Oh, the,
We have the first ones, that's the good news.
yeah, I don't have that with me. I have too many dates in my head, sorry.
Yes,
Sounds-
just give me
sounds
one
about right.
second.
Put it in my
Does it?
calendar.
I thought it was
That's
early.
what I've got on my calendar, but
That sounds right, but I just.
It would make sense if we,
Right-ish.
if our.
March 4th is the co-op.
Yeah, it
Right.
is,
Annual
thank
meeting.
you.
Okay.
Alright, so a
Yeah,
week
if our
before the
public hearing
elections.
is that early.
Alright,
Okay,
great.
okay. Well, at this time, seeing no other items, I will wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy
Yes.
New Year, and take a motion to adjourn at 7:11 PM.
So moved.
From Brian, seconded by Raul. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oi.
5-0. Thank you.
Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.